like to call to order school board meeting for May 3rd, 2021. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Beaver identified as he was not able.
Dr. Carter? Here. Mrs. Eisenhart? Here. Mrs. Harmony? Here. Mrs. Ham? Here. Mr. Sheep?
Here.
Mr. Tomasi? Mrs. Wallheiser? Here. Mr. Wagner?
Here.
8 present.
All right, so this evening we have the honor and privilege of recognizing some of our distinguished retirees that are leaving us as of the end of this school year. So I am going to work collaboratively with our building principals and directors that are going to be speaking on behalf of our retirees. Unfortunately, some of them were not able to make it this evening, but we're still going to say a few words, and then we'll try to invite them back to the June 14th meeting. So first up, we are going to just address, this is Michelle Beekman. I know she was not able to make it this evening, so we will be recognizing her on June 14th. Mr. Farina, I think you were going to say a few words about Mr. Conrad, correct?
Sure. Mr. Conrad, we were hoping you could join us this evening, but hopefully you'll be able to join us in June. However, Mr. Conrad has been with our school for a little over 15 years teaching 5th grade social studies. And I think when I talk to students, whether they're 8th graders or 12th graders, and I say, what was one of your favorite parts of the intermediate school? And Mr. Conrad's name is brought up very frequently. I see JT's nodding his head right now. I didn't ask him to do that. Thank you, JT. But Mr. Conrad just does an amazing job connecting with his students. Whether he's dressing up like Magellan, whether he's playing a guitar and singing about the joys of 5th grade, he just does all of these amazing things that helps to make kids feel welcome, helps to make kids feel like they belong, and helps to make kids feel like this is something I want to learn about. He is just a tremendous storyteller, and he's a tremendous colleague to every teacher in this building. So Mr. Conrad, an amazing educator. It's going to be very big shoes to fill, and we wish him very well in his retirement.
So each of our retirees will get a placard from the school district. The plaque looks like this. It says Brandywine Heights Area School District presented to Chris Conrad, and then it has how many years of service. Mr. Conrad had 15 years of service in the school district. Board members? All right, next up we have Mr. Greg DeWalt, and Mr. Jinch is going to say a few words on Mr. DeWalt's behalf.
Evening, everybody. Good evening. Mr. DeWalt's been in the district for 15 years, with me for 3, and he's a technology educator, so he would handle things in our shop, and then with our Project Lead the Way program, doing some engineering and design lessons. And the one thing that really stands out to me in the time that I've had to work with him is how his construction and design background could really help him make things applicable. Engineering and design can be pretty complicated subjects. And the way that he could break it down and at least and utilize the students so that they could help be a part of that really helped make his lesson strong. And he was a big driving force of what was the beginning of our engineering program. So congratulations to Mr. DeWalt upon his retirement.
And Mr. DeWalt had 15 years of service in the school district as well. Next. Next up, we have Connie Hager. Connie is with us this evening. So Connie, come on down.
Mrs. Hager has been an aide up in our library for 20 years?
6 years.
District for 20 years. And I would be hard pressed to find just a more positive person in our hallways. So Connie is so sweet. Always a kind word, always a laugh. How are you? It's great. Mondays are my favorite with Connie because we get to talk about our weekends and we get to share stories. And with the students, has always just been such a kind and gentle voice for them in the library, always there to assist, has lended a hand, especially over the last year and change with all the challenges and changes that we've had, has helped out in a multitude of ways, and is just, you could not ask for a sweeter, more dedicated person to work with. So thank you so much.
Well, I want to thank everybody here too, because without you guys, I wouldn't have had pleasurable years.
Connie, you said, I think earlier when I talked to you, you were in every building but Rockland, is that correct?
Correct.
That's pretty impressive. Connie was with us for 20 years. Congratulations.
Thank you. You're smiling under
I know.
that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Becky Moyer. Becky, you want to come down?
I'll wait for you to join us, Becky. I'm going to try to keep it together here. I know that it's a little bit emotional for Becky. I've had the pleasure of working with her in the nurse's office and within the building the past couple of years. And the way that she fits in with not only the office staff, she's a team player all around. The best part of having her in the building is how she connects with the students. It can be a problem to have those frequent flyers that come down to the nurse's office, but that's a problem that we love to have because it's how she connects with the students just means a lot to me, and your friendship along the way too. So I wish you the best of luck in your retirement. I hope that you come back and visit us often, but thank you for your dedication for so many years within the district and all that you've done for our building.
Thank you. Very bittersweet, but I'll be back. I'm around. Every day, I'll be back.
Becky's been with the school district for 9 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know it is, isn't it? Next up, we have Tina Levan. Tina is one of our food service staff members, and Mr. Freeman is going to speak on behalf of her. She works in the intermediate middle school.
So Mrs. Levan has been with us for 33 years.
33,
And I think all of those years have been tremendous, but I know when we look at what our food service has done over the course of the last year through the pandemic, it really speaks to what she has done through her whole career. She is just again, as Mr. Jim said about Mrs. Hafer, this ray of sunshine, always smiling, always interacting well with all the colleagues, all of the students. She just brightens up lunch. And I said that they have worked harder this year than they have ever worked before. We're giving out more meals this year than ever before. And she does this day in and day out because she knows this is what our community needs. And that really summarizes everything that she does. If our kids need it, she's there to do it. And it's just a true testament to her character. And we're so happy to recognize her on her retirement.
Thank you. So we'll give this to her as well. 33 years. Pretty impressive. And finally, the last one this evening is for Mrs. Susan Panuski, who is a special education teacher in our high school.
I've actually had the privilege of working with Mrs. Panuski both when I was the assistant principal at the intermediate middle school, when she was in the intermediate school level, and then now she came with me when I came up to the high school as a learning support teacher at the high school. And so I've had such a great opportunity to see her work with both our younger students down here at the intermediate middle school, but also some of our older high school students, and just the amount of care that she has given those students that sometimes are struggling with concepts, that sometimes need additional help. The way that she was just so supportive all the way through has just been, it speaks to what a powerful educator she was and how hard she's been working. And again, so with all the retirees, we'll definitely be sorely missed.
And Mrs. Panuski had 15 years of school service in the school district. So congratulations to Mrs. Panuski. So as we transition, Becky and Connie, thank you so much. As we talked beforehand, you ladies are going to be sorely missed, and we won't be able to find people like you because you just are so dedicated, so caring, so compassionate. So thank you for all that you've done. It's been a pleasure getting to know you personally. It's been a pleasure working with you. I wish you the best of luck, honestly. Congratulations. So annually, we always have school board representatives come out and they represent and talk about the different happenings within the school district at the different levels. And so this will be the last meeting when we're recognizing and having our student reps with us this evening. So before you report, we wanted to recognize you and provide a few certificates of thanks and appreciation. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. White.
All right, as Andrew said, Mr. Potter said, we'd like to thank you guys for the awesome job you've done. And so first we'll recognize Olivia Deischer. She is a senior this year and has been a representative for 2 years.
Olivia, senior. What are you going to do after college, after high school?
I'm going to Widener University.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah. I'm majoring in nursing, and I'm also playing field hockey.
Congratulations. Awesome.
Our second recognition is Tatiana Ullman. She is a 10th grader, and this is her 3rd year of service.
So Tatiana, can we talk into another year? All right. I'll put you on the spot. Congratulations. Thank you, Tatiana.
We have Megan Miller, who's a 9th grader, and this is her 2nd year.
She's not with us tonight.
Megan's not with us today.
And moving on, we have John Almendinger, 8th grader, who was his 1st year. Did an awesome job.
Unfortunately, JT is going to be moving out of the school district, so we can't recruit you. Sorry, you've been put on the spot too. Congratulations. And
Thank you, guys.
all three of you. Finally, we have some recognitions of 3 of our wonderful students that are part of the HOSA. HOSA stands for Health Education, let me get it right, Health Education,
Occupation.
Health Occupations.
Nothing, ladies.
Help me out.
I think it is.
Health occupation
They're
students.
part of the HOSA group, and come on up, ladies. They're part of the HOSA group, and it's a health-oriented club. It's a health-oriented club. They did a presentation, if I'm not mistaken, on the importance of nutrition in teenagers. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's what our specific presentation was on, was for an event called Health Education, so you can pick basically any topic you wanted to educate your community on, and we just chose dieting. Yeah.
So
And
take me back a little bit. So tell me how you got involved in this and the program you're in, that you were even part of the HOSA group.
yeah, so through MHP, which is a program we have at BCTC, we were introduced to HOSA through our teacher, and basically everyone in the class could be a HOSA member, but we chose to kind of go above and beyond and like actually compete in the leadership conference for Pennsylvania, and we basically started our project in the fall, which kind of brought us to the spring, and that's when we submitted our project and everything. Yeah, so then we just recently heard about winning, but now we're like excited to be competing in like the summer for their international leadership conference.
So earlier when we were talking, you were saying that in Pennsylvania, this was the most amount of people that ever applied to do this?
Yeah, correct. So this year, since it was virtual, a lot more kids were kind of more eager to sign up, just because it wasn't necessarily like you had to pay for like a trip to go somewhere, because normally they have it at a certain center. But this year with it being virtual, there's a lot more contestants, and we're beyond proud to have like taken the title of our competition.
So I'm not sure if you caught that, but they were state champions in their area. So congratulations, ladies. And so next is nationals, right?
Yeah, international.
Ooh, that's even more fancy. So what happens then? What do you have to do for that?
For that, we have to join like a Zoom call. It's a 5-minute presentation with 3 of us there, and we just explain to them like our project, why we chose to do it, and outline everything we did. And then they grade us from there along with everyone else that's competing that got first in their states and countries and stuff.
Awesome. You have to keep us posted. Best of luck. Final questions for you. So I know you're all 3 of you are seniors. What's next steps?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to be attending Lockhaven University to major in health sciences and be in their pre-physician assistant program. So I'll be getting my master's in physician assistant studies in 5 years.
Awesome. Congratulations.
I will be attending Sales University, majoring in medical studies, and then in 5 years, I will also be getting a master's in their physician assistant program.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm attending University of Delaware, and I'll be majoring in nursing, and hopefully I'll become a nurse.
Very cool. Now, if you would have said something completely out of nursing, I would have been really shocked. Emily, congratulations.
Thank you.
McKenna?
Yeah.
And
Thank you so much.
congratulations. Good luck.
So, Mr. Conacher, if I can just
Yeah, I'm
say
sorry.
a comment
Yeah.
about the young ladies. So they're being very gracious and modest about the entire process. The Medical Health Professional Program at First Career Technical Center is one of the top medical professional programs you can get into in the state, really on the East Coast. It's a very difficult program to get into. They only accept 40 students from the 18 sending districts within the county. So even getting into the program is really a very big deal. It kind of points out that these young ladies are some of our best and brightest students that are looking to move into health careers. So congratulations, first off, on getting into the program. Secondly, they are maintaining a long tradition of granting line students making it to the state, national, international level of HOSA competitions. So they've done really a fantastic job, and this is actually a very big recognition. So like I said, you guys are kind of talking it down a little bit. You should be very proud of your accomplishments. I can tell you as the rep for the Career and Technical Center, I am so proud of you young ladies. You've done such a fantastic job. Keep up the good work, and best of luck for you with internationals, okay?
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
So finally, this evening, we have one more recognition, and that is to acknowledge a gift from our partner that partners with us with our Virtual Academy program. They provide the curriculum for us in some of the programming. Their company is called Edgenuity, and they're providing a $1,200 donation for Mrs. Honich and to update and revitalize the Virtual Academy program. We're looking to move the location of that program because of the growth in the program and move it into a double classroom and be able to put new furniture in there and revitalize that space to make it appropriate for Virtual Academy Learning Center. So, Carolyn, would you like to say anything?
Sure. We're really excited for the expansion project. Mr. Dinich has graciously worked with me to try to find a space adequate for our students to utilize a different environment that students get to not only utilize Mrs. Rapp and get any kind of, on-demand support, but also just in a different style classroom where we have different type of seating. It's a very nice environment. We're going to have access to our outside courtyard, so a nice space. You want to open that up. We're just really excited with the expansion of our project and our program in general, and watching our students really flourish and take a ton of different online classes, and we really hope to continue to see our program grow.
Thank you, Ms. Honich. To our retirees and to our students, thank you so much for coming this evening. You're more than welcome to stay, but we're not going to be upset if you turn around and leave right now. So, congratulations again. We wish you the best of luck.
All right, moving on here to the last hurrah for this year for our student board representatives reports. Olivia, would you like to go first?
I have the report for the high school So spring sports are in full swing, and our teams have worked hard in the regular season as we get close to the playoffs. Right now, baseball is 10-3, softball is 9-4, and they're ranked first in their division. Tennis went 3-7, and their season just finished this weekend. And volleyball is 7-6. May 12th, the athletic department is hosting a signing day to recognize all of our senior athletes who are planning to continue their athletics in college. And then the end of the year sports banquet is going to be on May 21st. Sports Boosters is having a pulled pork drive-through dinner on May 19th. The dinner includes pulled pork, mac and cheese, coleslaw, and a roll. The tickets are $12 and they can be purchased at Geist Sporting Goods. This month also involves a lot of standardized testing, so AP exams are offered in a variety of formats to make the test more available to students. My younger brother is doing the AP computer science exam, and he right now is like figuring out how to use a little pad to like press buttons and play music, and it's crazy, but that's his exam. Keystone exams are also taking place from May 7th through the 24th for students taking Algebra 1, English 10, and Biology. Three Brandywine students were recognized and received awards at the BCIU Art Show and will have their work featured at the Goggle Works in Reading. Awards were received in the areas of black and white photography, design, and oil and acrylics. Cicely Samsico won 2 awards. Tyler Hoke and Dana Bada both won awards for black and white photography. Graduation rehearsal will be held on May 27th in the elementary school gym. Our graduation is going to be held in person at Oak Hall in Kutztown University on June 2nd. And there will be limited attendance. Seniors are going to be given tickets to hand out to their families based on the capacity limits and participation. And then prom is going to be held on June 4th after graduation at Old Homestead Home.
Thank you, Olivia. John, would you like to give a report for the intermediate and middle school?
Yeah.
For the middle school, the student council did a food drive this month. All donations will be going to the local food pantry. The 2 homeowners with the most donations will get to hug Ms. Sabrina and Mr. Readings in the face. We have a student spirit week coming up in this month of May, starting the 24th and ending the 28th. Monday, the 24th, is wear your favorite superhero shirts. Tuesday, the 25th, is wear neon for mental health awareness. Wednesday, the 26th, is wear blue to show autism awareness. Thursday, the 27th, is wear tie-dye for Down syndrome. Friday, the 28th, is wear your favorite hat for intellectual disabilities. The Special Olympics is also starting up this week. Student athletes will be participating in events held at the middle school. Teacher Appreciation Week is this week, ending on Friday the 7th. Student Council will be also providing lunches from Panera Bread. Sorry, got something on that. In the IS, all the intermediate schools students participated in the virtual field trip presented by the Lehigh Valley Sioux. The high school drama club will be reading to IS classes this week. They are also planning for field day, and also students have also received their t-shirts. Teachers are also making plans for transition activities as the 6th graders, the 5th graders prepare to move up in the middle school as 6th graders. Students are also getting excited as the end of the year approaches.
Thank you. Tatiana, elementary school?
The elementary school currently has 62 students registered for kindergarten next school year. Kindergarten screenings will take place the evening of May 18th and the morning of June 9th. Elementary school teachers will meet the new students, highlight the great programs and opportunities they offer, and provide a sneak peek at what's to come next year. The elementary school will also each year honor peers participating in their very own Special Olympics being held at the intermediate and middle school field this Wednesday. On Thursday, May 13th, all students are participating in field day. The elementary students will have a fun day planned, then after a picnic lunch and a walk to the intermediate and middle school for field day.
Thank you, Tatiana. Moving on to presentations, we have Mr. Ryan Rothman from RBC. Floor is yours.
Thank you and good evening. I'm Ryan Brockman with RBC Capital Markets, covering tonight's meeting for Scott Kramer, who's currently driving his daughter back to college in Knoxville. And Rhonda Lord, your bond counsel, has scheduling conflicts, so she's unable to be attending with us this evening. So I'm going to start with going through a brief overview of their status update on where we're at with the bank loan request for proposals. Then I'll touch on the parameters resolution that's in this evening's agenda. And in conclusion, I will try to answer any questions you have about the resolution before the bank loan process. So assuming the, well, first of all, I don't have a presentation, I don't have any material tonight because the numbers would look identical to what Scott presented last month. It was April 6th. In that book, we were assuming a 2% rate for the new money that the district is contemplating, which is for $2 million over 11 years. We still anticipate that is in the ballpark. We actually think the rate will come in probably 1.90% or a little bit lower, hopefully with a prepayable option at any time to give the district some flexibility. As far as timing goes, assuming the resolution gets approved this evening, your bond counsel and her team will be sending off the necessary documents to the state, DCED, to get the process started. As far as the RFP goes, we sent out the bank loan RFP last week to several commercial lenders, including Fulton Bank, BB&T, Riverview Bank, People's Bank, and a few others. Those proposals will be coming in at the conclusion of next week, where we'll analyze all the proposals, rank them, from the numbers, and figure out what is the most cost-effective proposal that we receive. We'll then wait to receive DCED approval, which should put us in position to settle at or around June 3rd. That's the date we're targeting settlement on the general obligation note, the bank loan. At that time, the district would receive the proceeds from that new money. As far as the parameters resolution goes, this is very similar to what the district has seen in the last several years. The resolution that's on tonight's agenda authorizes the issuance of the general obligation note series of 2021 to finance various capital projects throughout the school district. The debt, when it's issued, will be a general obligation and will be backed by the district's full faith, credit, and taxing power. The resolution also accepts a note purchase agreement with RBC that contains certain maximum parameters, just like we've done in the past. You're going to see in Exhibit A of the resolution, there's a maximum schedule, the maximum debt service schedule. It's going to show a principal amount of $3.5 million. That's just the way DCED, that's how 90% of our school district clients do things on a parameters basis. Basically, we take what we anticipate the debt service schedule will look like, we add cushion to all the years, so that when the final rates are locked in, we have a final debt service schedule that has to fit within the parameters that we're establishing in tonight's meeting. So again, the maximum principal amount in the resolution is $3.5 million. You are not going to actually issue $3.5 million. It's going to be closer to right around $2 million, which is what you're looking to borrow. Also, you'll notice the maximum interest rate in the resolution is 5%. Again, that's what we use for our parameters resolutions. The actual rate we anticipate to be lower than 2%. That's all I have for the update on the RFP and the resolution. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have this evening.
as reference to the board members, it's under business pay, the resolution that Mr. Proctor has discussed.
Any questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Proctor.
All right, moving on to public comment. We have here Aaron Clark. You good?
I'm good.
All right, moving on to Board of Directors report. Can I get a motion in a second?
So moved.
I have a motion in a second.
So there in the board agenda this evening is the minutes from the April 6th as well as April 19th board meetings. Any corrections or additions that need to be made to those meeting minutes? Okay. Moving on to policies, we have the second reading policies that are listed, and then we have first reading policies. This first reading policies under item C are all related consolidated leave policies. So sick leave, FMLA, personal necessity leave, vacations. Those are the policies that are consolidated for all employees that we're looking at for this month's policy. Nothing too out of the ordinary, but just wanted to point out that we clumped those policies together. Any points or corrections that we made for the policies for next time? As always, if there is anything, we can always make those adjustments for the second reading for next meeting. Item D is to appoint the school board treasurer for a one-year term, which would be beginning July 2021 through June 30, 2022. The PA school code has the established process is that a treasurer is elected every May. Mr. Sheets is the current treasurer. Mr. Blackman, as you take a drink, I will turn it over to you to see, or maybe if you want me to, Mr. Sheets.
What can I say about this whole job? So you guys find somebody better, I think. If anybody else would like to take a crack at it, they're more than welcome, but like I said, I'll be doing what you guys want to do. Awesome, we appreciate that. All right.
We'll put in your spot there, appoint Mr. John Sheets as school board treasurer for 1 year beginning July 1, 2021. Item E, similarly, is to appoint a individual board member to represent the Berks County Intermediate Unit Delegate. This is a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2021, and will extend through June 30, 2024. Currently, Mrs. Hune is serving in that capacity, and so similarly, I think the question would be appropriately asked if you would like to continue in that process.
I'd be happy to continue to serve.
Very good. We appreciate that as well.
So in your notes, please put in there that it's to appoint Mrs. Elizabeth Hune as the District Berks County Intermediate Unit ECIU delegate.
Of all things without you know what I mean?
Not seriously. So just line along. 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and we've gotten to the board of directors report. How's that? Item F is to reaffirm KKLL as the school district solicitor of record. The rate per hour is the same rate as it was previous years. Mr. Kraft, thank you for your service. It's been a pleasure working with you, and the professional knowledge you've given to the school district has been remarkable. So, especially during the COVID times.
Greatly appreciated.
That is the end of the items for the board of directors report.
All right, moving on to committee reports. BCIU. Mrs. Hune?
Hi, good evening, everybody. The report for the board of directors meeting on Thursday, April 15th is as submitted in writing. Just one thing that I'd like to call out, the last bullet there, the executive director, Dr. Jill Hackman at the BCIU, was the recipient of the PASA, which stands for Pennsylvania Association of School Administrators 2020 Service to the Profession Award. That was awarded to her just within the past month, and we acknowledged that at the board meeting. It's pretty incredible that for Berks County to have a senior educator in that role who is so incredibly well respected around the state at the peer level. So I just wanted to call out and congratulate on behalf of Brandywine, Dr. Hackman's service to the profession. Other than that, the next meeting of the BCIU Board of Directors is scheduled for Thursday, May 20th. That concludes my report. Thank you.
We'll make sure we address the part from the board to Dr. Hackman.
I think that would be terrific. Thank you for doing that.
Moving on, Mr. Sheets, BCTC.
So BCTC, we met on April 28th at the think I was at the West Campus. Kind of marvelous stuff. At the West Campus, what I'd like to call out this evening, first and foremost, we elected Dr. Stauffer as our new executive director, appointed Dr. Stauffer as our new executive director. Dr. Stauffer has actually been with the VCTC, I want to say, for 9 years now. Dr. Stauffer comes to us from a kind of a really interesting background. Got out of high school, didn't know what he wanted to do. Worked in construction for a couple of years, working his way out to site foreman, superintendent type positions. Decided that he wanted to do teaching, got into teaching, was a teacher, and then really found his love in career tech and moved over to VCTC. So it is a kind of a not necessarily a homegrown candidate, but somebody that's been developed within the organization. He actually came very highly recommended by our outgoing executive director, Dr. Kraft. And really just a very nice gentleman, very passionate educator, so we are very lucky over there. Kind of goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, Berks is very lucky with our Career Technical Center and just how fully featured it is, the programs that we have. Oscar Manbeck, who is our executive, or our president of the board over there, had a very, very apropos thing that he had said during it. Everybody comes in when they're trying to get a position, they say they want to take the place to the next level. That's kind of difficult with VCTC because we are such a high-level organization. And that sounds real modest, but it's the truth. So really with Dr. Stauffer, our edict to him was keep the wheels on, keep everything moving, maintain the level and the standard that those have set that for you. And if you have a way to put your impact on it and try to take the next level, that's fantastic. So I think Dr. Stauffer is going to be a very good addition to us over at VCTC. The only other thing that I would like to mention this evening is I would like to actually just call out, because this was something we used to do back in the day, and I just thought it'd be fun to do it again. The students of the quarter for East Campus were from Brandywine Heights. We had Benjamin Smith and Captain Retreat of Wood Technology, Noah Leike in Protective Services, Homeland Security, Samuel Berryman in Masonry program, and then at the the West Campus, we had Ryan Repper as the Recreational and Power Equipment Technology program. So once again, those are students of the quarter for the third quarter of 2020-2021 school year. Next meeting is May 24th at the East Campus, and that concludes my report.
Just for the board's awareness, when we get that information from VCTC, we actually send the students a note of congratulations to all the teams. So it's a nice way to recognize them.
If they're watching, I thought it'd be cool just to say their names.
All right, Berkson Contest.
So the only update I have is that Mrs. Rosa Oster, who is the alternate for the school district as well as some surrounding townships, will be serving in the capacity. I did reach out to her. She's going to fill in and support the school district. She also offered that once we have a business manager in place, she'll gladly help transition and bring that person into the fold of what BCITC meeting is all about, and then also offered that for the executive director, I think is the title, to come out to the board and just explain what that committee is all about. So I think that'd be a good learning experience at some point. Let's let our new business manager get their feet wet a little bit, but maybe a few months from now, once that is established, we can. Just wanted to provide that update to the board where we are and where we stand with that committee.
Just to point out to the newer members of the board, Ms. Lavastra was actually a board member for this board. She was also board vice president and board president during her time on the board. And sir, it was the EIC. There was a lot less letters when Ms. Lavastra was doing that for us. So she is a valuable resource for the business manager and valuable resource for this board, stepping in that position for us.
Counted by trade.
Okay. By the way, she looking for a job.
She has feelers out for me.
All right, Swallow, Nicola.
Yeah, no problem. So Nicola meeting was held, forgive me, I forget the date, it was about 2 weeks ago. And Dr. Bailey and myself had the opportunity to present with Dr. Hackman, and we spoke about the updates that are happening with the Senate charter legislation, as well as special education funding. We also had the opportunity of having the speaker come in, and they provided some of the data and facts that were supporting from PSBA that were supporting what we were speaking about with the cyber charter and the issues that are happening with special education. So it's nice to see that the messaging and the work that's being done at the county level is mirroring what's happening at the state organization level with PSBA. PSBA gave some updates of what some of the options were for school districts in terms of services, but really spoke more on that legislative lens and parallels to what we were doing here with our COLA group. The only other update I have is that a meeting is currently being scheduled with Dr. Bailey, myself, and Dr. Hackman to speak with the current legislators in Berks County. That just actually happened as of last night, and we've scheduled, I believe, on top of my head, May 18th, and we're going to be presenting and working with legislators. There's two key bills that are out there. One of them is being sponsored by Senator Twain, and so we wanted to talk with her and see what we can do to support his advocacy efforts. The bill that she's sponsoring is specifically related to cyber charter, and a high-level summary of that is that if you have a cyber charter in place, like we do, you would not have to pay for cyber charter students to go to a cyber charter program. So, again, we wanted to partner with those that are pushing legislative efforts at the state level and at the local level so we can do to support them. So that's the root of the discussion on May 18th. That's the end.
Thank you. All right, Policy Committee, Dr. Carter. Strategic planning?
Nothing other than our presentation later.
Negotiation, Mr. Sheets.
I'm sorry. Negotiation committee met virtually today. We discussed contracts for Mr. Cogger, as well as academic agreements that are both on the agenda for this evening. No further to report.
Thank you. And Building Construction Committee.
So just an update there, the elementary project going very smooth. They have sent the board a weekly update of a few pictures. Not sure if you're able to get them because of the file size, but they have taken the new elementary school, starting to get paint covers in there, it's starting to transform and look pretty neat. The old library is completely gutted. All those small rooms in the back, if you were familiar with those, they're all gone, all those office spaces, and it opens up that space so much. It looks really neat. So that's occurring right now down at the elementary school. In this building, as everyone knows, April 19th, we approved the project to move forward. If you look back, you see a library that is black. That was gutted this morning. About a quarter of the hallway, about a quarter of that floor is completely gone already. So they have basically stripped the majority of the library. So we are jumping into this pretty quick. They have a aggressive time schedule, and I think they plan to keep it. We have a meeting with the general contractor, with all the contractors tomorrow, as the official get-to-go meeting, get-to-know you meeting. But the demo contractors wanted to get in ahead of time, and so they are already there. Just a fair warning, we probably will not be in here for next meeting in June, because at that point, they will have this place covered. So I'm not sure where we're going to be, honestly, but we'll figure that out in June. Whatever available space we might have. Outside, that sounds great.
Here we got a nice new friend somewhere.
We do, yeah, that could be really, we always were thinking of maybe the library, but I'm not sure if the furniture is going to be in the new library in time or not. It's supposed to happen that week. I know, it's so close. It's really close.
So, story time.
We shall read policies together.
All right, any other further discussion? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Dr. Carter?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackenhart? Yes. Mrs. Henry? Yes. Mrs. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mr. Tomasi? Mrs. Wallheiser? Yes. Mr. Ryman?
Yes.
8 yeas, motion passes.
All right, moving on to business and operations. We have had a request to pull out letter N and vote on that separately. So can I get a motion to do so?
So you want a motion for everything but then? Yes. Okay. I'd like to make a motion for everything under funds business, with the exception of letter N.
Second.
We need a second motion for letter M.
I was looking at the.
Sorry. No, you're fine. Just to take us through the board operations report, items I and E are to approve the bills and financial reports as presented. Those have not changed. Any questions relative to items to the bills or financial reports? Item F is special education and pupil services items. F1 and F2 are similar. They're approved to approve extended school year agreements. These are for EFYs, otherwise known as. That is for one student at the Capstone Academy and 3 students at the Hogan Learning. Could be 2, it could be 3, where one is going to be aging out, and so that student has the opportunity to go. We're not sure if that student will be going. So your cost originally says $2,100. If you're following that, it's now I think it's $31,500. So it's listed there. So that's the reason why, is because originally it was listed as 2, when we said 3 students. So my apologies for that math data issue there, but that was the reason why. So it's listed as 3. That would be the cap of what we'd be spending. Item 3 is for an agreement with the Beacon Light. Beacon Light is a mental health hospitalization organization. So we don't pay for that portion of it, but we would pay for the education portion of placement there. So that is what that agreement is for. Item 4 is to approve an agreement with the Richard with the Caron Foundation. That is for 1 day a week for a staff member to be working in high school, and then 1 day a week for shared services for this building and for the elementary school. And then item 5 is to approve an affiliation with the Lebanon Valley College for speech language pathology. So that it's sort of like a student teaching placement with that agreement. Curriculum technology. This is an adjustment to something that was approved previously, and that is for an agreement of originally $5,000, now $5,500 for PIN submission support. We partnered with an individual to do that PIN submissions for us. That's very good with the data world. The reason for this $500 increase is that Pennsylvania Department of Education has required additional reports due to COVID-19 time. And so because of those additional reports, it's costing some more man hours. So that's why that additional $500 is there. Under H, there are the first 4, H1, 2, 3, 4, are for annual maintenance items. 1 is for the annual boiler hot water treatment. 2 is for the alarm system and sprinkler systems. 3 is for the intercom clock systems. And then 4 is for the fire extinguishers. Item 5 is for the exterior doors at the elementary school. These are for 3 of them. 1 single door at the garage that goes into the elementary school. And then if anyone can remember what the old gymnasium looked like, there was 2 double sets of doors at the back end that went outside. Those were not part of the bid to change those. But since that will become the new library and new space, those doors need to be replaced. So that's what those 2 double doors are to be replaced. That's a C8 and C9. Item 6 is to approve a builder's risk insurance. That is an annual cost of the $10,426. Essentially what this builder's risk insurance does is once materials for this building, for this project, once materials get put on site, there becomes an ownership of those materials. And so if something would happen to those, if something would happen to this construction, that builder risk protects the school district because we essentially own those supplies at that point. So it protects the school district in that process. It is an annual fee, but because this project will not be going on for the whole year, we'll get reimbursed and it'll be only prorated for the time when the construction project is actually occurring. Item I is to approve an agreement with the Berks County Intermediate Unit for professional tax services. That provides software licenses as well as the cost of printing for the tax bills for the school district. Item J is for an agreement with an an organization called Community in Schools. If you recall, this is the conversation we've been having about community in schools, or also referred to CIS, where there was a partnership with us, Leawood, and Kutztown. There was a lot of grant dollars that came in to support this, and we now have a 2/3 time individual social worker that's working in the intermediate middle school at this point. It's actually 2 people just because of the way the shift and sharing is between the 3 school districts, but it's working out really well. Mr. Green, I see you want to just share a few words since it's a brand new program to us?
Sure, and I think this ties very nicely to how we discussed the Caring Foundation individual between one at the high school and a shared representative for Caring here at the intermediate middle and with the elementary school. This CIS program is also going to dovetail into that. So we do have 2 individuals. They are here for a total of 3 days a week. So one of the individuals is here 2 days, one is here that 3rd day. And within this program, we work on a referral system where we look at any kind of check mark that, you know what, this would be a great service for the student. So far in the month and a half we've been here, we've hooked up over 40 families with services. Now again, we put out 40 offers. We're still working on, working with all of those families to get that support. But it's a great program. The 2 gentlemen who are working with us, they come out, they do bus duty, they are in the cafeteria, they're really looking to build connections with students, and they fit in very nicely with our staff here. So this program is great. It's something that I think our families can greatly benefit from. So we're very thankful to be partnering with CIS through this grant and having these social workers work with our students.
Thank you.
The contract language says for the 2020-2021 school year. So when was the start date? And then it sounds like it ends as of June 30 this year.
That's actually exactly where I was going. So thank you for the second. So the contract, it was for the school year, but because it took a little bit to get going, it's only for the first semester, or for the second semester. So that's why the $5,000 is for this year. This contract is only for 1 year, but the intention and the agreement is for an additional year as well. So this will be implemented next year with a new contract. We just have to be cognizant that it'll be $10,000 next year instead of $5,000.
Perfect, thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions on that? A great program that Mr. Brina illustrated is making some huge dividends already. Item K, we have the resolution that Mr. Brockman spoke about earlier for the borrowing. Any questions on that? Item L is to approve CBIZ as our insurance broker. They will be going out trying to get the best rates for our insurance for the district coverage. They will be presenting that and having a comparison of last year's insurance rates to this year's insurance rates at the June board meeting program. And then item N is to approve the general fund. Do you want me to talk about this one?
We'll talk about that when we did the motion.
Got it. Item N is to approve an agreement with ESG Systems. This is a late approval, and I apologize for that, but Mr. Janich was able to provide some information to me. And as we coordinated what graduation is going to look like this year, it will be at Kutztown University. They've opened up the services for that. Usually we have it in the basketball stadium. They're suggesting we use it in the big field house because we can spread out more and we can have more families be able to come. So it looks like at this point we'll be able to give 6 tickets to each family member to be able to attend. But this service will provide that sound system. It will also provide the video screens in the facility because it's a level. If you're familiar with the field house, it's one big level there. So that'll provide the screens, and it'll also provide live streaming for any family member or teachers. We have a lot of teachers that usually come to be able to watch graduation. So it is a little bit more than we'd be spending on graduation at the $5,000 amount, but I would ask consideration of that with this one. These are the items.
Any further discussion? Questions?
I just wanted to make a real quick comment on that item N and thank Mr. Janich and the faculty advisors at the high school for caring enough to really make graduation special. And the fact that we're going to be investing just a little bit more than usual to make those kids' experience impactful, given everything that they've sacrificed and sort of missed out on. I just wanted to thank you on behalf of those families. I think it makes a really big difference. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Well said.
Right, we could, roll call, please, for everything except letter N.
Mrs. Eisenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Henry?
Yes.
Mrs. Hume?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mr. Chouwaki?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallheiser? Yes. Dr. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
8 yeas, motion passes.
All right, could I get a motion and a second for consideration for letter N?
So moved.
Okay, item M is to approve the general fund proposed final budget. You can see the amount there of $35,803,673. That is inclusive of a 1.5% tax increase. We've been talking about this throughout our meetings this spring. With the recent resignations that were noted, we were able to bring that down and get us to that basically that zero, inclusive of the 1.5% tax increase. That also accommodates for the $33,000 that we'll be doing in anticipation of a new one. So we do have to buffer that in. That is inclusive in this budget. So that would be the summation of where we are right now with the proposed final. We will continue to look at this, and then really the final budget becomes that June 14th meeting, and that's when the budget is set for the following year. I'm continuing to work with Mr. Nyman through this process. He's been the one coordinating this, as well as Mrs. Segment, back end side of it, with business office. All three of us have been in sync and having communications and dialogue to make sure we're very much on point with the numbers and the correct data. So I feel strongly about where we are right now. I feel like the information is accurate. The other piece I'd like to point out is in your packets, there should be this beautiful color coordinated paper. It's a one-pager. I just want to give a quick update. We had a strategy session the other day as the administrative team. Talked about the ESSER funds. You can see where the allocations are for the 3 ESSER funds the district has received. The ESSER 1 was $164,000. That was the initial wave that came in. We used that for technology as well as some cleaning supplies. So that one is kind of done. That one's out of the books already. ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 are the most recent ones, and obviously the higher dollars. Those are the ones I want to spend a little time talking about and providing what we would like to propose to the board as a strategy for how to use these grant dollars. So ESSER 2 is the $925,000, and ESSER 3 the district received $1.8 million. There is a minimum learning loss set aside, and that's 20% of that ESSER 3 of that 1.8, and that's why that $378,000 is there with 20%. So combined ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 is $2.8 million. You can see in the timeline aspect of it, we have to use ESSER 2 funds by September 23 and ESSER 3 funds by September 24. There's a broad range of vehicles or ways that we're able to use these grant dollars. So it can be used anything from cleaning supplies to academic remediation. And there's a lot of leeway in between there. And so the focus areas that we're looking to do within the school district is 1, to focus on the education programming for the school district and the students, and then 2, to focus on improved facilities with the environmental safety and health considerations. So as you look within the chart and the allocations, the first 3 items are similar. They're just repeated for 3 years. We will be looking to hire 5 temporary employees. I strongly use the word temporary because we have to be in a mindset where these are folks that are helping our students for the next 3 years, but to be able to sustain those kind of dollars in the regular general fund of $400,000 is going to be very difficult to accommodate. So we have to think of this as temporary, but the idea here is that we would put in 4 remedial support teachers, 1 at each level, ES, IS, MS, and HS, and then we'd also add 1 guidance counselor for the social emotional learning side, because there is obviously a need there on the health side of it. So by having 5 additional staff members district-wide to support our students, whether it's academic support or social emotional, we feel that that is definitely the best way to utilize these grant dollars from the academic side of it. The other two academic connections is the summer learning camp, which Mr. Volker did a presentation on last meeting. And so we would be looking to offset the cost of that summer learning camp with the grant dollars. And finally, we have been talking with Kutztown University. Dr. Reese has been coordinating, Kutztown School District. Dr. Reese has been coordinating this effort, and we would be looking to bring a behavior support staff member into the school district at the time. So we can share that cost between the two school districts, between Kutztown School District and us. And again, that would be used through the ESSER dollars to support that. So all in, we would be at 1.285 million would be used on the academic side. So when you look at that learning loss of the 378,000 as a requirement, we're obviously well exceeded that. But again, I believe that's where we should be putting dollars in front of kids and the best potential as possible. On the other side of the coin, and when we look at our facilities and we look at what we can do to enhance the environmental side of it, the HVAC side of it, we are looking to offset the cost of a chiller replacement that has to be completed at the high school. So that would be the $600,000 there. And then we would be also looking to offset three plus potentials here within this building. The classroom unit ventilators have to be replaced in the second floor. We're looking to do that. And then costs that we have built into the current renovation project for the gymnasium air conditioning and the office HVAC, as well as the alternate to do the cafeteria rooftop, that would all be offset by $5 million. So that would allow us to free up some of those other dollars for other future projects with the school district. I think it's a very good balance between focusing on our education and our students, while at the same point putting some money here for the facility side of the school district, maintaining those. Any questions on the ESSER dollars? So what will happen is we'll apply for the grant, and we'll extend. We would essentially be applying for the grant based off these parameters. But I just wanted to make sure that this was in front of you before we did go through the application process. And if there was any major issues or strategy that you would agree with, then we can adjust that in the grant process. But typically, a grant isn't board approved; it's just applied.
So 1.25 million going to academics, and then how much going to the building?
So it would be, quick math, like about 1.6 million going into the buildings, 1.2 going to the students. And again, the strategy there was because we have a building project that we can use, it's allowable to use the grant dollars to offset the cost that we have that we just did for this renovation and approval. It seemed to make sense that we could use those dollars to offset that, and then free up some of those dollars later on down the road for future improvements. But I think by talking with the administrative team here, by putting these dollars in with the 5 teachers, there's a bunch of different strategies out there for different school districts. But I believe that if you can invest in the teachers and put the teachers in front of the student, it's going to be the most impactful way to use the dollars. We could do after-school programs, you could do remediation programs, you can do a bunch of different things, but if you have this teacher in front of the student, that's going to be the best way to get the biggest bang for the buck.
Any other discussion, questions, concerns?
So, quick comment, is there, or actually a question first, Mr. Piper, do we have an update by chance on any other outstanding budget issues? So along the way, we've held a whole variety of meetings, which were just chock full of really good information. We've honed and we've edited, and we're now down to what we would position as this balanced budget number. This ESSER documentation is really helpful. Is the final analysis pending anything at this point? There was some question about state funding because the state budget hasn't passed yet. And all along, we've said, let's not fuss about that, the information will come. Are we any closer to having an answer on that, or anything else that might be outstanding that would impact this budget figure?
So definitely that state dollars are outstanding. We're still waiting for that. Likewise, with our earned income tax, those come in on a regular basis. I believe it's either monthly or quarterly, forgive me for not knowing, but they come in on a regular basis. The most recent one was very positive. So we basically, the gap 2 times ago, if you remember, we were showing a significant loss. It was going pretty well with the earned income, and then we had a pretty big gap. This last one brought us back up to where we would be. And so that concern of we might fall short this year, but we're still anticipating next year we're going to rebound, has even greater support that cause in terms of we're back to that level of the that question mark is kind of done at this point. The biggest question mark is still the state funding, and I just don't anticipate that we're going to see dollars coming in. We might, which would be wonderful. It's such a ridiculous, such a hard guess game for government at this point.
Okay, so if you did get any state funding, it would be net positive impact on the budget. At this point, there's really no risk of the budget getting worse over the next 60 days.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. So I feel like we've done a really good job of honing this as best we can. I do, before this vote, want to share with my colleagues that I still personally struggle with a tax increase, proposed tax increase of 1.5% on our community property owners, when the district has received or will receive 2.9, nearly $3 million in incremental grant funding. So, again, I'm not being critical of the process in any way. I'm not being critical of the recommendations from all of our various administrative departments. I think the ideas and suggestions are well thought out. I just fundamentally am struggling with, if we're getting $3 million more than we're used to having in this coming budget year, how is it possible that we still need to tax our constituency even more than last year? So I'm struggling. Conceptually, I approve. Financially, I'm struggling on the impact, from the taxpayer's perspective. So that's where I'm at. And so anything we could do to continue to carve that back, is there any chance that in the next, between now and that June 14th vote, that tax increase figure would be lower?
If there's state dollars, absolutely. That would definitely offset some of those figures.
What about if the earned income tax or any of the other tax revenue sources that we have access to would come in more favorable than we have projected?
Yeah, I think if they start to mobilize themselves within this last month period, there is still a projected loss next year from what it is this year. So if that becomes mobilized, then that would also bring down what that tax increase would be necessary. Yeah, so there are projections. I don't know how much. I don't know how strong a potential they are, but there's definitely potentials. Yeah, and I promise you we'll continue to look at this, because I would like to take this down a little bit further as well. But sitting where we are right now, it does provide us a level budget for that increase. Related but not related, if it helps at all, when we bump into the county, it seems that the average is around 1.9% right now. With those that share where they are anticipating being on the process. So we're right in that ballpark.
So you're saying in comparison to other, the other Berks County school districts,
That's right.
You think we're, sort of middle of the pack? I know last year, for example, we went with a 1% increase, and what we discovered was that 10 of the 18 peer districts did a 0% increase, or 2 of those were even return money to the tax base. So, I think we've just put our community through a lot, much of it out of our control with COVID and what families have experienced in the whole economic situation. So my sensitivity is heightened around raising taxes, given where we've been for the past year, and given the blessing of nearly $3 million in incremental funding that we would not have anticipated perhaps a year ago. And so to me, that's a windfall. So that's what I'm struggling with in terms of the tax.
So, I mean, the one thing, and I appreciate anyone that has reservations about, raising taxes, asking our, our neighbors, our constituents to pay more. It's presenting that $3 million as a replacement for budget money and tax money, though, is a bit of a fallacy, right? That is windfall money. That is money that we have to utilize in very specific ways to take care of very specific problems. Otherwise, the federal government will take that money away from us. The issue that we run into is that we did give 0% tax increases when all of our colleagues, all of the other districts in the county were not giving 0% tax increases. So we gave our community the break earlier than what everybody else did. If 10 other school districts didn't do that, that's fine last year. That still puts us in the middle. That doesn't put us at the top. It doesn't say that we're being frivolous with our spending or anything like that. Additionally, the districts that are giving money back have significantly more industry than what we have in our district. Our constituents in this area have shown they have no appetite for further expansion of industrial commercial property. That's what would be necessary in order for us to be able to facilitate any sort of give back. So again, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying. I really do. The reality though is we have to make incremental tax increases, because if we don't, that's money that not only does that money not go in coffers and then adversely affect us later down the road, but then the compounding money that also is supposed to be in there as well. It's an unfortunate thing, but we need tax dollars and we need to be raising taxes in a controlled manner, so that way we don't find ourselves down the road with no fund balance having to max out our Act 1 increase like we had to do when we first got on board. So that would be my only counter to that. Like, nobody likes raising taxes. Nobody wants to be, the bad guy. But it's something that kind of has to happen. I hope that we're able to lower it down from 1.5. But I would ask my colleagues, when we're looking at this, it's as presented. We can hope that we're going to be able to do something better for our constituents and our our neighbors. But the reality is I think this is where we're going to stand, because, like I said, that money is very narrow in what its application would be. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, to your point, the way I wrap my head around that, this is like the tax increase as well, but the way I wrap my head around the grant money is these items would have to be an expenditure at some point. And so the grant money allows us to cross that off the list at one shot. And this money has rules based to it. So the money that we're getting does not necessarily allow us to take cross items off of the actual budget. It allows us to cross items off of the wish list, the to-do list, which would force us to have to increase taxes down the road to pay for those items. The chiller, for instance, $600,000 for a chiller. That would have to probably be some sort of tax increase down the road to pay for that chiller. Luckily, it falls under the ESSER money to be able to cross that off the wish list. That's how I wrap my head around the discomfort with the tax increase.
Yeah, I frankly thought the facilities items would be a part of our long-term facilities plan. So I feel like at some point we would have budgeted the $600K, and we would pay for that out of fund balance or the district savings account, not pay for a replacement of a critical piece of equipment to run the buildings out of tax, like incremental tax revenue. So that's where I'm struggling, because I was under the impression that at least those facility items, we already had a long-range facility plan in place, that we were funding on an ongoing basis, looking out, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and that we could certainly afford to replace those critical pieces of equipment. So to me, it does feel like a windfall to have the government give us the $600,000 to replace, for example, that chiller. And so to me, then that should free up $600,000 to be used on something else or to stay in the savings account, in the fund balance, if you will. So I agree in part, Mr. Wagman, on some of the items out of the $3 million spent, but I'm struggling with some of the others that I feel like we have in fact funded, or we have plans in place to fund it.
We do have plans in place to fund, but I mean, the reality is we've been on board about the same time. Have you ever seen them come back with a surplus? It's never been a surplus. So, I mean, we've been fighting for a $40,000 pickup truck for the last 4 years. Like, the idea is to put that stuff away, but at a certain point, we have to raise taxes to generate that income. Because if we run our fund balance down, that affects our credit rating. If our credit rating is affected, that affects what we can put money out at bond issuance. And, 0.5% or 1% on bond issuance, that means a lot of money when you're talking about $2, $3, $10 million. So we're kind of in a position where we are good. We have the ability to support an issue. If the state decides they don't want to come back with a budget this year, we have the ability to keep paying our bills. But it's not like we've got a ton of money left. That's why we need bond issuance and why we have to raise taxes. So I mean, it's definitely something we can take a look at during the next budget cycle. That could be information that we could definitely, what do we have in different fund balances and what's our honey-do list look like? So we can find out if we need to adjust, how we're funding those accounts or those balances to make sure that we have the ability to do it. But this also does, like Mr. Wegman said, it allows us to cross big ticket items off that are within that scope of spending that we're allowed to do from the federal government. So,
Yeah, I guess I look at it like, you have these grant dollars coming in. Just like we receive the first stimulus money, you don't use that to pay for your electric bill. Because you have to pay for your electric bill the following month out of your other. And so if we use these grant dollars to offset the general fund and to offset the tax increase, we're going to have a double issue the following year. We're going to have the issue of making up the $300,000 gap because we didn't raise the taxes plus whatever the new increase is the following year. And so that's my concern about if we decide to use grant funds to offset the general fund.
Yeah, and please don't misunderstand, I'm not proposing a 0% tax increase, and I'm certainly not proposing to refund money to the tax community at this stage. So what I'm proposing is that perhaps we could go tighter than 1.5. If we could get it down to 1.0, I'd be willing to put my support behind that without any qualms. Just in terms of addressing the comment about, having been on the board all these years, did we ever have a surplus? The answer is yes. Every single year we have a surplus of $600,000 to $700,000, if I'm not mistaken. And in terms of addressing the comments about our credit rating and all of that, we've been able to borrow money over the past year or two, and longer than that, at extremely good rates because we have a very strong bond rating already. And the feedback from our bond counsel and our other financial advisors is that Brandywine School District, unlike many of our peers, actually is in a much better position, particularly as it relates to our debt structure, than most of our peer districts in the county. And so again, we're at the top of the millage structure, and I understand all of the dynamics about how our mills don't buy as much or don't fund as much as other district mills. But we tax our community in terms of mills more than 17 other districts or 16 other districts in the county. And I struggle with continuing to layer on more when perhaps we don't have to do it quite so aggressively, given that we are financially in really a good spot.
Okay. So I do have an issue with that statement. you cannot just smooth over the fact that 1 mil here is only worth $550,000 and 1 mil in Wilson is worth $2.1 million. Like that's not apples to apples at all, like at all. So I appreciate the fact that you're not saying we need to go to 0, and I never said that you said that, but we will do our absolute best to make that make a lower rate happen.
Here we go. We'll continue to work on this. Okay.
Great. We vote on the items under letter M. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Henry?
Yes.
Mrs. Hand?
No.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mr. Chouwaki?
Yes.
Mrs. Walizer? Dr. Carter? Mrs. Eisenhardt?
Yes.
Mr. Ryman?
Yes.
Two nays, 6 yeas, motion passes.
Great. Moving on to superintendent's report. Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Sam?
All right. Here we go. Mr. Chouwaki that time? All right. So first item on the list is a celebration, if you will. So we are looking at our end of year goals. I had a chance to review this with Mrs. Eichardt the other day.
I like the celebration also. That was really nice.
You like that?
No, I really get excited when I read these. I meant to say this when we went through this, and then I figured I'd say now, but it just makes me really excited to see when we have all these goals, especially in a year when you didn't think anything was going to be accomplished because you never know what the next day was going to hold. So to sit with you and talk about these things and hear how excited you get to actually share what you've done, I like that you get to do this. Celebration was a good word.
You still play that intro thunder. That's one. So there's the goals. But just as a high level, I like to do this. It's obviously a multi-page document. A lot of effort goes into it, and Mrs. Eichardt just did a great summary of, we didn't expect to get a lot of the big initiatives done. So when you sit back and you reflect, and if you peruse through this as I talk, you'll see a lot of big initiatives got done this year. And I think that's a huge credit to our entire team. The board giving us direction and supporting that, the administrative team, with all their countless hours of hard work this year, the teachers for their flexibility and their way to just continue putting the students first, and our students and our families for everything they did to be flexible and to get through the year. So if I could just take a moment and kind of take it at a high level, just as a review, there are 4 major categories that we have with overarching goals. Enhanced communication and collaboration, ensure high quality instruction, advance safe and supportive learning environment, and optimize organizational efficiency. So those are the 4 major ones. We added a 5th one this year, which was, of course, related to COVID-19. But those are the 4 goals plus 1 this year, 5 goals that we used. There's numerous tasks identified under each goal, and all of these tasks are priorities that were developed with the strategic plan process. That strategic plan process happened 2 years ago. We put a 5-year plan in place with these overarching goals, and every year the tasks underneath those goals, sometimes they say change, but they get modified every year. Sometimes they're new, sometimes they're modified, and sometimes they're continuations. So that's the overarching process to get to where we are. Just to go through some of the high level things, I think we all have lived through the fun of COVID-19, but I think as I reflect back on it, as we look at what the very difficult decisions you as a board have faced during the course of this year, and there were a lot of them, I think all in all, when we look back, we made the right decisions, and we can say that they were for the safety and welfare of our students. It was difficult, it was painful, it asked a lot of our community, it asked a lot of our staff to be able to adjust, but I honestly believe that it was the best decisions that we made for our students at the time. And where we are right now, it's going well. It's going very, very well. And again, all that is a tribute to our wonderful employees. From the community engagement side of it, a lot of communication that was done, whether that was through the committee works, whether that was the emails that went out about COVID cases, whether that was the communication plans and the multiple meetings principals had with the parents to explain the different next steps and plans that were occurring. Safety protocols, a huge thank you to Mr. Wetzel and his staff, and all the custodians for everything they did on the cleaning side, disinfecting side, every single day and night. They were in here disinfecting, wiping everything down, putting stickers on every single door, sealed the door off to say that it was disinfecting for the next morning. You count all the doors in this building, multiplied by 180 days, it was a lot of work. Our food service staff for all the free meals that were developed, we have a continuation of that all next year as well. So they understood the importance of helping students, helping families out. And just, again, a huge thank you to this board for trusting the administrative staff when you put into a terrible predicament as a board to make these very difficult decisions with a polarized views on the whole issue. You did a wonderful job coming together, getting us through this, and I thank you, all of you, for making those strides together. So that's the COVID-19 side of it. From the communication side of it, some major enhancements this year. We rolled out the bullet points. So if you had a chance, we had a chance to show that to you, the electronic newsletter with the flipping pages. That's going to be ongoing, so we're excited to roll that out this year. We're working to we're transitioning to a new website platform, which will take effect this summer, July 1, and training's already occurring for that. So that's an exciting enhancement that happened this year. Parent nights occurred multiple times this year with the building principals, as I mentioned earlier. We had Dr. Reese and her staff doing social emotional learning. And we had some other social emotional trainings happening through task force and some other agencies. So a lot of parent nights held, even in the COVID world, and then mentorship opportunities. They occurred. We established relations. That was the one I would say that was the hardest to accomplish this year, just because of COVID. One that's still a very high priority for us, but one that we're going to continue to strive for in future years. From the high quality instruction side, again, high level big points here. Programmatic shift to our world languages at the middle school level. So now we're going to be introducing Spanish, German, Latin, and a STEM Explore type class that's going to happen next year. So that's a big shift that we were working on this year. Let's not forget, back in December, Mr. Jinish did the wonderful presentation of graduation requirement changes. And a lot of work that went into that, and that was the culmination of a year plus work of getting us to the new graduation requirements for the school year. Doesn't seem like that was this year, but that was. It feels like that was forever ago, but that happened this year. Introduced the freshman seminar course as part of that process, and then also the career financial planning seminar course that's going to be for our juniors and seniors as part of that graduation requirement process. The safe and supportive learning environment, on top of everything else, of course, we have the elementary addition project going on, and then we interviewed new architect firms and went through the process of the intermediate middle school to upgrade this building. Threat assessment trainings and trauma-informed care trainings occurred. Mr. Barnhart is our safety coordinator, who's done an excellent job of coordinating that process. We just approved the contract for community and schools, and that was finalized this year. And so we have now a new support social workers that are supporting the school district this year. And then on the equity side, which is a huge goal for the school district, we were on the forefront of putting Wi-Fi hotspots in our community on the equity from the technology side. We have now 85 Wi-Fi hotspots out there. And then switching gears with equity, Dr. Reese is involved in the Berks County Equity Committee. So an equity committee was established at the county level, and Dr. Reese is heavily involved in that process. Finally, organizational efficiencies, transition to a new student management system, Power School, and now we're looking to transition next year to a new one, Infinite Campus, that is hosted by the BCIU. We introduced a new second internet provider to help with the bandwidth redundancy, as well as to have enough bandwidth to get through the educational shifts that we were this year. New staff handbook, that was huge. We consolidated all the staff handbooks. Previously, each building had their own staff handbook. And now there's one consolidated one. And finally, we are still going through the processes of putting RFPs out for a food service management company, as well as paraprofessional contractors. Both of those contracts expire this year, so we'll be putting new contracts. So those are the high-level things that occurred. Again, a lot of good stuff that's happening. I know it took some time for me to go through that. I just want to point out those big things. Because again, if you think about, wow, what a crazy year, there's some big things that we were able to accomplish here. And for me, and hopefully for you as the board, it's things we can be proud of, things we can talk about. But all that is as a result of that combined effort of the board sitting here, is that administrative team sitting in the audience, the teachers, and all our staff, as well as our students and our families. There was so much to be asked of each one of those segments. Again, a lot to be proud of this year. So thank you for allowing me to spend a few minutes here going through this. Any questions on those? Nicely done. All right. So that's the positive. I hate to go right into this, but I have to do it. So as I think most of us know, there was a report released this weekend from the U.S. News and World Report, and that focused on the ranking of our school district. It hurts me to say that we were ranked at 459 as our high school. We are a much better school district than what that number represents, but it is the reality of what was put in that report. And it's something we have to own. It's something we have to work on. One of the key pieces is the data from the 18-19 school year. We have been working on this since that data was released in the fall of 2019. We put a lot of things in place since that point. And just to illustrate a few of those, the culture in the high school with the leadership of Mr. Jinich is first and foremost. He took over that school year, and what a difference that has changed. The difference that high school culture and philosophy has changed over there. And when you think about culture, you think about the importance of academics. They go hand in hand. And so as we get through this next process and we start working down that, there's been a lot of positive strides made in that culture and that importance of academics as embraced in high school. From an academic side, we do not teach to the test. And we kind of held firm on that philosophy for a while. But with the change in what is required of our students and the Keystone exams being graduation requirements, in some ways we have to change our philosophy. And we have to do some of that teaching to the test for our students to be able to become proficient in those Keystone exams because they're graduation requirements now. So we had a conversation about that last meeting, the PSSAs and the teaching to the PSSAs. That has not been our philosophy, or I do believe it will be our philosophy, but there is a balance that we have to strike here in terms of, particularly in high school, particularly with our Keystone exams, that we are making sure our students are successful and are passing it because of graduation requirements. We knew of these performance concerns. We did an academic presentation. In talking to the board, you made strategic investments. And we've hired 2 curriculum staff members, a curriculum staff member and an instruction staff member in particular to work through these issues. And I think that is something that, as a board, you see the data, you see the points. Even me, it caught me off guard when I read the paper on Sunday. It took me a little bit to digest and think, this is all the things we've been doing to get there. And we put these positions in place. We knew this was an issue back then. We put the positions in place. We addressed math. Math was a curriculum area, was absolutely our priority area. So we're working on the math priority area. On the ELA side, we made that cross-curricular connection with social studies so that those 2 departments are working together now and trying to strengthen the ELA side of it for our students. Likewise, we have shifted our instructional model and have invested in hybrid learning. So it's like a rotational model that's happening. There's a pilot group happening. Of course, it got a little bit cut short this year, but a pilot group that is working on instructional shift models that's happening in high school. Again, all these things have been taking place since we found out about that date in 2018. We've increased our AP courses. And as course offerings are now increased, and we know that's one of the key target areas using the data point. And just as a side, on the AP side, our free reduced lunch students do have the opportunity to have their fees offset. So from an equity standpoint, there is an offset cost for our free reduced lunch students. And then the other point I'd like to note is the graduation. We have a high graduation rate, but our high graduation is, we use it as a 5-year cohort. So some students don't graduate in 4 years, but we get them through, get them across that finish line, so that they are still successful. So that 5-year for us is, this past year was 97%. The 4-year one was reported back in 1819 was 89%. So that's some of the disparity. So there's definitely issues, but again, I don't believe that the number reflects who we are. And just as a kind of a spin of that, 67% of our students go on to some kind of post-secondary education. And when they go on to post-secondary education, they're not having to take their remediation courses. You know, if you remember back to those freshman courses, you had to take their remediation if you didn't have a certain thing. We don't have a lot of students having to do that. And so, you know, I think that's something that we need to look at is what happens with our students when they leave us? Are they prepared for the real world? Are they prepared for the next step? And that has been, I vividly remember this, from day one when I took over as superintendent, it was a roadmap presentation I did, but that was what my messaging was. We have to make sure our students are prepared when they walk out the doors of our school. So 60% of our students going to some kind of post-secondary ed, 5% go to the military, and 28% go into the workforce. 20% of our students are internships, and 17% of our students go to the technology center. So there is a lot of support that's in there. Again, it pains me, it hurts me, and I think just as a school district, it just isn't who we are, but it's what the number says we are right now. We have to, we absolutely do. So I want to be as transparent with this as possible. This is something I don't think we should brush under the rug. It's something we could easily just do this quick report on tonight, and that's it, and walk away from it, but that's not who we are as a school district. So what I'd like to do on May 17th, which is a Monday night, I'd like to hold a virtual town hall meeting and address some of the similar talking points that we're doing here. Mr. Walker is going to take the lead on that and talk about what the data means from 2018-19 and those talking points that I spoke about this evening, about the things we've been doing to improve ourselves, and the next steps moving forward to get us to a better position, at least from what would be considered the ranking status of the U.S. News and World Report. Any questions on that? Again, not great, but it is what it is. And again, I believe firmly that we need to be transparent with this, and we need to address it. And that's why I think holding the town hall meeting, those families that, and rightfully so, that are concerned, should have that opportunity to hear about what's going on, hear about the steps we're doing to make improvements, and ask questions.
Mr. Fire, thank you for sharing that. That phrase, you know, we don't teach to the test. Having been part of the board for a long time, it seemed to me maybe almost as it did you and your colleagues who work with this every day. But you know, those of us who have been participating in the attempts at leadership here, really, I think, are disappointed that it's so public. We knew this information back in 2018, 2019. Mr. Volker recirculated the exact PowerPoint, which was so incredibly comprehensive and well articulated and well documented with action steps. I think part of the pain is now seeing our data exposed to the public and then compared to, you know, 500 other school districts around the state. So thank you for being transparent. Thank you for offering a town hall. I think those are all really good things. This notion of teaching to the test really intrigues me because over the years, that does come up in conversation quite a lot. And in our household, frankly, this weekend, we talked a lot about that. You know, with 2 kids who have been across the graduation threshold and other family members who have a historic experience in public education. So But one of the things I would like to better understand as we move forward on this topic is, what is it more specifically about the Keystone exams that we disagree with in terms of, and therefore the curriculum we design ourselves in-house, we believe is so much better? And so what is sort of, I might not be phrasing it right, but what is sort of negative about teaching to the test that we just think is wrong, or we think we could do better? And what are the things that we are prioritizing that may just not be on that test? And so just at a more granular level, I know I'd like to better understand what those, maybe with examples or something like that in each of the subject areas, particularly in math, because clearly the state has put that in place as a way to measure public schools around the Commonwealth. And so certainly there were educators on that team at the state level, but maybe we have some of our own philosophies. I just would like to better understand where is our philosophy so different than what the state is saying they value and they want to measure, and therefore they expect kids to graduate with that knowledge. Does that make sense? Am I
Yes,
saying it clear? Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to, do you want to have that conversation now, or were you setting that up for
Yeah.
when we went into the presentation?
Absolutely not tonight.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure I.
Yeah, I'm fine with just having that as a strategic question.
Yep.
You mentioned that phrase, and that was a phrase that I think is good, but I think as we move forward as a board in supporting you and all of your recommendations, and I appreciate the acknowledgement that the board has said yes to everything, or practically every single thing that your administrative team has brought to us and said, here's what we think will help solve these problems. And the board has agreed to invest over and over and over. So just in that area, what are the key differences? Maybe address a couple examples at the town hall meeting, or just in future board discussions about curriculum. Thank you for entertaining that notion.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts? We're going to keep moving through here. Okay, so a couple items under the superintendent report. We have the approval of the ESY program for our school district. We have the SWEET program established for our students that would be working within the school district, which was June 28th on August 4th. These are students that, instead of ESY, work to gain work experience within our school district. And then items C, D, and E are to approve business textbooks as well as social studies textbooks 3 to 5 and 6 to 8 for our newly approved social studies curriculum. These are the meter textbooks. Any questions on those items?
All right. Hearing no other questions, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Can you just make something of that draw? Anything else you wanted us to know?
Do you want me to move on to some of the personnel items and just take some English? Or we have to take a question?
Let's just awkwardly stare at everyone. Nobody say anything.
That's just high level in terms of, and I don't know, Mr. Walker, if you want to dive into this and just provide 2 minutes. But just high 30 seconds. Go.
I can give it 30.
30 seconds. You want to give a teaching to the test?
Sure. 30-second explanation. It's not really a curricular difference. So the curriculum that we have devised is set by the state standards. So the standards that those Keystone assessments are based off of are the same standards that we utilize to build our curriculum. There are a couple of things when it comes to teaching to the test that differ. So we know that when you have your standard, it actually drills down to assessment anchors, not to go into the full nuances of curriculum, but it's a very nuanced portion of that total set of standards that the Keystone exam focuses on. So when you talk about teaching to the test, instead of looking at the full breadth of those standards, typically if you're teaching to the test, you focus much more on those assessment anchors. So you may not get full exposure to all of the standards that actually are expected at the state level, but it's focused much more on what's going to be on that test. Furthermore, a lot more time is focused really on, all right, this is exactly how it's going to look like on that Keystone exam. So a lot of instructional time is utilized to put exam-looking questions in front of students. So when it comes time for them to take the Keystone exam, it's something that they're very, very, very familiar with. Typically, our practice is what's best for kids. Let's get some hands-on experiments, and let's actually dissect things, and all good practice. But oftentimes, again, when we're teaching to the test, you're handed worksheets and packets and things, again, that are going to mirror what that Keystone exam actually looks like. So again, when you take a look at the curriculum, it's really not that different because it's all built on those state standards. It's just much more focused and I'd say a little bit more worksheet heavy from a 30,000 foot view. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right, your mission over. All that rest of over.
Get a roll call, please.
Mrs. Hume? Yes. Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mr. Chomsky? Yes. Mrs. Walleiser? Dr. Carter?
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenhardt? Yes. Mrs. Henry? Yes. Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
8 yeas, motion passes.
All right, moving on to personnel report. Been requested to pull out item 5 from this. E5, yeah, I apologize. F5. So could I get a motion and a second for all items except for F5?
So moved.
Second.
So this evening we have the resignations and a few retirements that have been added to the agenda for the approval in May. We had the resignation of Connie Haber, who we got to recognize this evening. Resignation of Mrs. Swinehart, the retirement of Mrs. Levine, we had a chance to recognize this evening. Ms. Amato will be resigning as our family super science teacher, and Mrs. Shimleski will be resigning as our music teacher in the middle school. We had a separation of employment for an employee as well that occurred within the month. From the appointment side, we have a gifted long-term substitute teacher at the elementary school that's listed under 3A. And then we have an updated co-curriculars approval list based off of the positions that were utilized this year during the, with some of them being removed due to the COVID-19 situation. So that is 4A. Under E, leaves, there is 2 sabbaticals. One's a second semester sabbatical, one's a full-year sabbatical. We also have a FMLA leave. And then under other personnel, we have the change of retirement date from February 11th to April 12th, as well as the acknowledgement of guest teachers that work for us. Just as a acknowledgement of what a guest teacher is, someone has a degree, but not an education. So they go through a training course and then they're allowed to work a certain number of days substituting in a school district. That's what a guest teacher is. And then we have the mentors associated under F3. Followed by the approval of a 2-year Act 93 agreement from July 1, 2021 until June 30th, 2023. Those are all the items I set.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, we can do a roll call on all items except for F5.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mr. Chomsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Walleiser? Yes. Dr. Carter?
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenhardt? Yes. Mrs. Henry? Yes. Mrs. Hume? Yes. Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
8 yeas, motion passes.
All right, can I get a motion and a second for item F5?
So moved.
Second.
All right, F5 is the approval of the 5-year superintendent contract with Andrew F. Odegaard from July 1st, 2021 June 30th, 2026. Any discussion? And a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Chouwaki?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallheiser? Yes. Dr. Carter?
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Henry?
Yes.
Mrs. Yoon?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mr. Bynum?
Yes.
8 yeas, the motion passes.
You made me a little nervous there, but I pulled it out. But thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart. It has been honestly a pleasure. It has been, I'm so proud to be able to serve this school district. I'm so proud to be able to work with you as a board, with this administrative team. We have such an awesome team. I'm so proud of that. The relationships we have with the staff, there's so many positive things. It just goes back to that darn 459. But there's so many good things happening, and your vote of confidence in me to lead this school district forward for another 5 years is just so wonderful. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I truly, truly appreciate you. We'll do everything I can to just make this district the best it can possibly be.
We appreciate your leadership and especially through this trying time for the last year and a half. So job well done and thank you again. All right. Mrs. Arena.
Sure, and just to echo Mr. Pottinger, the Act 93 administrators also want to thank the board for approving the new Act 93 agreement. Just again, echoing what Mr. Pottinger said, it's just a tremendous joint venture. We love working with Mr. Pottinger's leadership. We love working with the school board's leadership. So this has been a wonderful experience going through the Act 93 with the negotiations committee. So we thank you for your time. And as always, we want to put the best product out there for our kids. And thank you so much for the vote of confidence. And we're going to keep doing great things for our kids and our community. So thank you very much on behalf of the administrative team.
Thank you, guys. Any further old business? I do need to announce that we had an executive session prior to the meeting in regards to personnel, and we will also have an executive session after the meeting in regards to personnel. Can I get a motion for adjournment? So moved.
Second.
Thank you, everyone.
I think we will transition back over to the management. Thank you again, everybody.